So that was indeed our rank up game, and then we lose our first match of Master 3. What did we lose against? Oh, this Vaylantz deck. So I already kind of analyzed this already, but essentially this deck sets up an insane like lock. They put you under Secret Village, and their spellcaster I think is the Draco Slayer card here. So you can't activate spells. They go into Granite to get the Fossil Dyna, and that's what they use their normal summon on. If they go first, this is what they set up if they go uninterrupted. They have like infinite special summons, so I think if you max see them, they probably special summon, like deck you out almost. And so yeah, they shut you off with spells, they shut you off with special summoning, they put up some extra deck destruction as well in this card, the Chronochasm Vaylantz, which is like quick effect, move locations of monsters and destroy cards in those zones or something like that, or destroy one card in the field. So they've got disruption, they've got like, you know, floodgates, and that's kind of how they play. And if they go second, they just, I guess, hope they draw Lava Golem. This guy was on 46 cards. But the real thing that killed me in this match is I had evenly matched in my hand, and I had like a playable hand, like I had Robina in hand and stuff. But when they play the Vaylantz spell, it gives me the other Vaylantz spell, and that means I can't evenly match. Because they didn't actually put up any like negate, they just put up floodgates. So if I was able to evenly, I would have won that game. But because they give me the field spell, I can't activate evenly. So I would just have to, like, you know, attempt to play with the Robina, and I just get disrupted, and or my cards popped, and then I just can't extend, and then they just OTK me next turn. So a good deck when you go first, and I don't know how it is going second, but yeah, it seems like it's an interesting build. All right, next up, we've got, okay, just regular old Melffy Spright, good old reliable, good old consistent. Grave of the Super Ancient Organism, a very random one of, not sure how I feel about that. They've got a random Hyperia in here as well, likely as a gigantic target if they can't search anything else. So again, a little awkward. Maybe you're better off running a better utility card like Wind Up Kitten or something like that, but I guess the draw one isn't necessarily the worst. Because I guess you could keep recurring it with Elf, but I mean with Elf you're better off focusing on like other utility cards like your Spright engine. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but yeah, it's a solid list overall, pretty standard, not too much. 2 Sprint probably for the Unicorn / Diablosis, which is interesting, and no Zeus, which is wild. You definitely need to play Zeus. Cut this out, put in the Zeus, like it's or cut this. I don't know why you have this in either, but yep, decent list. I would just change the extra deck a little bit. It's crazy. Have I seen a Tearlaments list? I think I saw a Tearlaments cache, right? But we only saw one. No pure Tearlaments, and none of this yet either. So this was a 60 card pile, and I'm pretty sure I went first in this match and probably put up a Fossil Dyna, and like the opponent literally couldn't play through it or something. I bet you that's what happened in this match. So these 60 card piles, like they always seem amazing when you go up against them because they're kind of like Adamancipator grass decks, right? Like 60 cards, just put up a billion negates, you know, and just pop off. But I think they lose quite heavily to certain hand traps, and if you have a Dark Ruler, it also just straight up beats them. So keep that in mind. But yeah, this is just like a 60 card pile. I think these decks are decent enough to get you to Master 1. I just think you'll probably suffer a lot of random frustrating losses that you're like, I should have won that, or I know I could win that if they didn't just do this one thing. I can definitely see that, because like I said, I put up a Fossil Dyna against this guy, I'm pretty sure, and I bet you they were like, oh my god, of course he has that. Like if he didn't have that, I'd be able to win. Like I don't care about Empin or Trap Card or anything. I can play through all of that, but this Fossil Dyna just kills me. Same with Shifter. Shifter kills these decks too, obviously, right? So yeah, they do have some weaknesses. So again, when they combo off, they're very powerful, but they do have some very inherent weaknesses that when it's used against them can likely just shut them down. And then the more focused, like archetype decks, obviously like focused Tearlaments and Spright and stuff, will just OTK you next turn if you get disrupted enough that you can't end up putting up your ideal end board. So these decks to me just seem like all gas or like an empty tank, one of the two. All right, we're getting to some of the more recent matches. Let's see here, still in Master 3. We've definitely switched over to Floowandereeze at this point, by the way. This one was pure Kashtira. Just looking at this list inherently, the thing that jumps out to me right away is you've got, what, 21 monsters here, of which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them are hand traps. So that leaves you with, what, 13 actual playable monsters, of which these don't do anything by themselves. If you draw them, you have to draw this with like Birth, or this with like or you know, either of these with another engine card to play. If you don't draw any engine, or you only draw one piece of your engine, you can't play. If you draw this by itself, you can't play. You have to draw this with Birth or this with a Kashtira card. So just spotting these problems, there's a lot of issues. I mean, you have pots, you got reinforcements, this helps. But you know, I don't know how I feel about Super Poly in this deck. Yes, I just mentioned how it was such an amazing board break, but that's in Tearlaments where you can also use your own cards to Super Poly away things. What are you Super Polying in your own deck here? Like virtually nothing, right? So you're solely relying on this being useful against your opponents only, and this can inherently add to the inconsistency and or bricky hands that you'll face with this deck. So this is not what I would recommend, even though this is kind of similar to my pure Kashtira build, but I would focus way more on trying to be consistent with the deck than building it that way. So all right, on the next one here, I think I remember these ones a little bit more vividly. So this was again facing another pure Kashtira in a row. So this guy again maxing out on what he can, so triple Ascended of Thunder, 2 side Bs, so just increasing the number of extenders that you have helps, because any of these extenders with one of your Kashtira monsters also playing 3 Ogre compared to the other guy playing 2, this also helps. If you do brick, you've got some floodgates potentially to help slow down against the opponent. If they're on Tearlaments or something, this card can likely buy you a turn and or shifter. You've got your hand traps as well. So this is more, this is almost, actually, you know what? This might be the exact same build I'm running. No, I wasn't running side Bs. I was running triple Fissure and triple Extravagance maybe? I don't remember. But yeah, I wasn't running side Beast, which I probably should have, because like I said, you want to definitely make this deck as consistent as possible, and it really suffers with consistency. But honestly, if you're playing pure Kashtira, what I kind of pulled away from my time playing it is you're better off leaving your disruptions on board than going with your Xyz plays and just playing this deck as I have powerful interruptions going first or second, but I'm supplementing it with hand traps. So I would like do more in the hand trap department to make that deck more effective. All right, next up, this was a ridiculous match that we lost. A random 60 card prank kits pile is what it looks like, and I don't think this deck is very good. I think it relies a lot on resolving everything perfectly from what I saw this opponent comboing off on, but I could be wrong. Also, you're running 1 Imperm, like why? 2 Veiler and triple Ash and 1 Ghost Veil. So I actually think in my video I didn't mention that they were running Veiler, so that was other disruption that they could have had. But yeah, like this deck just seems all over the place, and it seems like you need very specific things to resolve in order to win the game. So I'm not a big fan. I bet you if we check, this guy's not at Master 1 yet, just because his deck is so inconsistent. Yeah, he even D-ranked back to Master 4. So I lost to this, so I can't talk, you know, SHIT against it, but, you know, it is what it is. All right, looking at the next one here. All right, finally, we're running into some pure Tearlaments builds. Fairly standard list. Not a big fan of the Sea Mares, but I guess they can work. You know, just adds consistency to the deck. This is very random. I don't know if you're starving for ultra rare points or something, but you definitely need super polys in this deck. If you're playing Tearlaments, guys, run super poly. Trust me, it's 100% needed. Imperm's fine. The 1 of Diviner for the Baron extension is fine. The Snow plus the Bystial is a Chaos Angel that's unaffected, and monster can't be destroyed by battle, so that's good. Yeah, a lot of random synergies in this deck. I do like the Grapha Negate. I think that's very, very powerful, because Tearlaments is a very strong combo deck, obviously, and inherently has a lot of disruption and interruptions that it can play, but it doesn't really have a lot of negates. So, you know, going for the Baron here is good, but just having the ability to like mill the Beast King and fusion into the Grapha, I think, or the King of the Swamp, I think is just much more useful. So for that reason, I think that if I was playing Tearlament, I would definitely add the Grapha in somehow. Take out these chalices, put in super polys as well. Alright, next up, I think this was our rank up game to get to Master Rank 2, and it was a Spright Melffy deck. Okay, pretty standard. Immediately jumping out at me though, you got the 1 random Pixies, which, you know, is not necessarily random because it's searchable, but the 1 random Veiler and only 1 Imperm here. You're opting to run Bystials. I probably wouldn't run these, run the 1 of Veiler, like why play into Tactics Talent? You'd probably be better off just running triple Imperm. And I think you don't commit to board breakers at any capacity with Spright. I think you just commit to hand traps because they complement Spright a lot better. But the extra deck looks pretty much perfect in my opinion. and just small tweaks to the main deck. But hey, if this worked for the opponent, like Evenly Matched is a really good card. It could literally single-handedly win you some games, so it's not surprising. And what we can start doing is looking at these upper ranks, see if these guys made Master 1. I would say this guy probably did, or should have. Okay, yeah, they did. So yep, their deck is certified Master 1. Did we check this guy's deck? I don't remember. Hold on, let's do a quick. This guy was on the Tearlaments with the C-Mare. I think he probably did hit Master 1 because Tearlaments is just that strong. No, he got D ranked to Master 3. Wow, okay. Jeez. All right, let's go on to the next one. All right, now we're moving into the final 5 matches that we played to Master 1. So I'm actually going to review these duels later. So this video is going to come out looking at the deck lists first. But obviously you know the results. So looking at Adamancipator Vernusylph here, I think this deck is a good deck. It always seems very powerful when you go up against it, but when you actually like break this deck down, it is pretty fragile. Just because you could lose to critical hand traps, negating like your key extensions like Granite into Block Dragon. You lose to board breaks like Super Poly, Dark Ruler. You know, if you go Baron into Appaloosa, that's a Mud Dragon because they're both wind. If your opponent goes first and they set up a decent board, you likely can't play with just the monsters, right? You can't extend far enough with your special summons to play through their disruption. So I think the deck is still a little fragile, but when it does go off, it literally gets its rocks off, and it's like almost impossible to stop.